Okay, is it working now? It is working now. Okay, perfect. Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I don't know if anyone will actually join, but if someone does, well, welcome. So this video will probably be uploaded later to my YouTube channel. So why am I doing this? The reason is actually quite simple. I wanted to start reading because I don't read enough. Actually, I don't read at all, like zero. So I was thinking that reading is always important, and I always tell students that they have to read more and more and more and more. But I don't do it. I don't do it because I get distracted or for a thousand reasons, right? So what I will be doing is actually quite simple. I will be reading the book and I will be talking about it. If someone joins, well, we can talk about the book. If no one joins, well, then I will just be speaking alone in front of a camera. So I mean, it's alright. I don't care. So give me 1 second. Okay, okie dokie. Okay, this is alright. I think it looks okay. All right. So the book that we are reading is called The Midnight Library. Okay, so why are we reading this one? Well, it was recommended to me by a friend and I started reading it. I kind of liked it, but honestly, it's a little bit difficult for me to focus on readings. I get a little bit distracted and then I just start, talking about, well, not talking, but thinking, and sometimes talking because I talk alone a lot. But well, so let's start reading. Okay, it's quite a short book. There are. What are the chapters? In the chapters? They're right here. So there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. 15, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. I already got lost. So probably about, I would say, 50 chapters, okay? But they're quite short. So I think that we can finish this in about a week, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. I don't know. I honestly will do my best to stream at least once a day. But I promise nothing. Like honestly, I promise nothing because sometimes I just forget about these things, right? So let's start reading. Wait. There was something right here. All right. So I will start reading, and well, here we go. I can never be all the people I want and live all the lives I want. I can never train myself in all the skills I want. And why do I want? I want to live and feel all the shades, tones, and variations of mental and physical experience possible in my life. Sylvia Plath. Okay, so I think that's actually quite interesting. But well, let's continue reading. Between life and death, there is a library, she said, and within that library, the shelves go on forever. Every book provides a chance to try another life you could have lived, to see how things would be if you had made other choices. Would you have done anything different if you had the chance to undo your regrets? That's always a question I ask my students whenever we are checking second and third conditionals. If you had the chance to change anything in your life, or if you could travel back in time, go to the past, and change some sort of decisions or, yeah, decisions in general, what would you change? That's always the question. What would you change? Would you change everything? Would you change things expecting them to be different? That's a thing people forget about. Sometimes we think that if I hadn't done this, then automatically the opposite would have happened. But honestly, that's not how life works. People forget that in the end, we are a combination of all our decisions, right? Like, there are 100, 1,000, a million decisions you have taken that have brought you here. So we need to think about that. People forget that in the end, all the decisions we take, they are they are part of everything. So you need to think about that. So our first chapter is called A Conversation About Rain. So, 19 years before she decided to die, Nora Seed sat in the warmth of the mall library at Hazelden School in the town of Bedford. She sat at a low table staring at a chessboard. Nora, dear, it's natural to worry about your future, said the librarian, Mrs. Elm, her eyes twinkling. Mrs. Elm made her first move, a knight hopping over the neat row of white pawns. Of course, you're going to be worried about the exams, but you could be anything you want to be. Think of all that possibility. It's exciting. Yes, I suppose it is. A whole life in front of you. A whole life. You could do anything, live anywhere, somewhere a bit less cold and wet. Nora pushed the pawn forward 2 spaces. It was hard not to compare Mrs. Elm to her mother, who treated Nora like a mistake in need of correction. For instance, when she was a baby, her mother had been so worried Nora's left ear stuck out more than her right that she'd use sticky tape to address the situation, then disguise it beneath a woolen bonnet. I hate the cold and wet, added Mrs. Elm for emphasis. Mrs. Elm had short grey hair and a kind and mildly crinkled oval face, sitting pale above her total green polo neck. She was quite old, but she was also the person But she was also the person most on Nora's wavelength in the entire school. And even on days when it wasn't raining, she would spend her afternoon break in the small library. Coldness and wetness don't always go together, Nora told her. Antarctica is the driest continent on Earth. Technically, it's a desert. Well, that sounds up your street. I don't think it's far enough away. Well, maybe you should be an astronaut, travel the galaxy. Nora smiled. The rain is even worse on other planets, worse than Bedfordshire. On Venus, it is pure acid. Mrs. Elm pulled a paper tissue from her sleeve and delicately blew her nose. See? With a brain like yours, you can do anything. A blond boy Nora recognized from a couple of years below her ran past outside the rain speckled window, either chasing someone or being chased. Since her brother had left, she'd felt a bit unguarded out there. The library was a little shelter of civilization. That thinks I've thrown everything away, now I've stopped swimming. Well, far be it from me to say, but there is more to this world than swimming really fast. There are many different possible lives ahead of you. Like I said last week, you could be a glaciologist. I've been researching and it was then that the phone rang. Uh-huh. Sorry, I got a message. Alright, yeah, nothing to worry about. So and it was then that the phone rang. 1 minute, said Mrs. Elm softly. I better get that. A moment later, Nora watched Mrs. Elm on the phone. Yes, she's here now. The librarian's face fell in shock. She turned away from Nora, but her words were audible across the hushed room. Oh no, no, oh my god, of course. 19 years later. Okay, so we know that she's going to die. I mean, literally the chapter started with 19 years before she decided to die. So we know that Nora is going to die. And well, there is something actually quite interesting that was mentioned right here. This part that says a whole life in front of you, a whole life. This is actually something I've talked about with one of my best friends. He brought it up. He mentioned it. He is already 31, 2, 2, 32, 31. I'm not sure how old he is. I think he's 32. And he was saying that if he takes care and if life is good enough, at least he's going to live other 30 years or even more. And we were talking about that. Like, okay, I'm 27, and in these 27 years that I've been alive, I've lived a million things. I've fallen in love, I've been sad, I've been depressed, I've been extremely happy, I've discovered a lot of things I like, I've discovered a lot of things I don't like. And if you think about it, I mean, if you just focus on how fast time moves, maybe in 1 year everything will be different. Hopefully, everything will be better. But also, there's the possibility that everything can be worse. But as it says right here, there's a whole life in front of you, and you never know what's going to happen. And as I mentioned before, what's going to happen is going to be a combination of all of our decisions. Like every and each of our decisions will be what decide our future. It's not about destiny, it's not about fate, it's about what we do, right? And then, well, they mention another very interesting thing. This part that says, well, far be it from me to say, but there is more to this world than swimming really fast. Because Nora said that her dad thinks she's over because she's stopped swimming. So sometimes that's going to happen. Like, we are going to believe that something is over, that there's no future ahead of us, but you never know. Believe me, I've met people that after working, I don't know, they do things for years and years and years, and suddenly one morning they say, no more. I don't want to do this no more. And they stop. They stop, they change careers, and they change their lives. So you never know. Like, you actually never know what the future has in store for you. So, well, all right. So, next chapter, 19 years later. The man at the door. 27 hours before she decided to die, Nora's seat sat on her dilapidated sofa, scrolling through other people's happy lives, waiting for something to happen. And then, out of nowhere, something actually did. Someone, for whatever peculiar reason, rang her doorbell. She wondered for a moment if she shouldn't get the door at all. She was, after all, already in her night clothes, even though it was only 9 p.m. I mean, I understand that. She felt self conscious about her oversized eco wear t shirt and her tartan pajama bottoms. She put on her sleepers to be slightly more civilized and discovered that the person at the door was a man, and one she recognized. He was tall and gangly and boyish, with a kind face, but his eyes were sharp and bright, like they could see through things. It was good to see him, if a little surprising, especially as he was wearing sports gear and he looked hot and sweaty despite the cold, rainy weather. The juxtaposition between them made her feel even more slovenly than she had done 5 seconds earlier. She'd been feeling lonely, and though she'd studied enough existential philosophy to believe loneliness was a fundamental part of being a human in in an essentially meaningless universe, it was good to see him. When I read this, I was like, huh, existential philosophy. And I started reading about it. I started reading about existential philosophy, and I don't know. I mean, I sometimes I wish I had paid more attention to those classes when I was in high school, but honestly, I didn't. So, well, and now that I have the opportunity, I think I might end up reading some philosophy books in the future. You never know. Wait a second. I got a message. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what was I reading? Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Ash, she said, smiling. It's Ash, isn't it? Yes, it is. What are you doing here? It's good to see you. A few weeks ago, she'd been sat playing her electric piano, and he'd run down Bancroft Avenue and had seen her in the window here at 33A and given her a little wave. He had once, years ago, asked her out for a coffee. Maybe he was about to do that again. It's good to see you too, he said, but his tense forehead didn't show it. When she'd spoken to him in the shop, he'd always sounded breezy, but now his voice contained something heavy. He scratched his brow, made another sound, but didn't quite manage a full word. You running? A pointless question. He was clearly out for the run, but he seemed relieved, momentarily, to have something trivial to say. Yeah, I'm doing the bet for half. It's this Sunday. All right, great. I was thinking about I was thinking of doing a half marathon, and then I remembered I hate running. This had sounded funnier in her head than it did as actual words being vocalized out of her mouth. She didn't even hate running, but still, she was perturbed to see the seriousness of his expression. The silence went beyond awkward into something else. You told me you had a cat, he said eventually. Yes, I have a cat. I remembered his name, Voltaire, a ginger tabby. Yeah, I call him Volts. He finds Voltaire a bit pretentious. It turns out he's not massively into 18th century French philosophy and literature. He's quite down to earth, for a cat. Ash looked down at her slippers. I'm afraid I think he's dead. What? He's lying very still by the side of the road. I saw the name on the collar. I think a car might have hit him. I'm sorry, Nora. She was so scared of her sudden switch in emotions right then that she kept smiling, as if the smile could keep her in the world she had just been in, the one where Volts was alive, and where this man, she'd sold guitar songbooks too, kept wrong her dumbbell for another reason, had rung her doorbell for another reason. Ash, she remembered, was a surgeon, not a veterinary one, a general human one. If he said something was dead, it was, in all probability, dead. I'm so sorry. Nora had a familiar sense of grief. Only the sertraline stopped her crying. Oh God. She stepped out onto the wet, cracked paving slabs of Bancroft Avenue, hardly breathing, and saw the poor ginger-furred creature lying on the rain-glossed tarmac beside the curb. His head grazed the side of the pavement, and his legs were back as if in mid-gallop, chasing some imaginary bird. Oh, Volts, oh no, oh God. She knew she should be experiencing pity and despair for her feline friend, and she was, but she had to acknowledge something else. As she stared at Voltaire's still and peaceful expression, that total absence of pain, there was an inescapable feeling brewing in the darkness. Envy. Okay, so I think we know what's going to happen, right? I think that she's going to probably kill herself. How do we know that? Well, because in this part where she's talking about her dead cat, she just feels envy. And I think it's about that part that says still and peaceful expression, that total absence of pain. Uh, I just want to say that if someone watching this ever feels that way, please talk to someone. I don't know, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to a psychologist because, well, I'm pretty sure that we are going to see what can happen if someone feels that way. So now we have the following chapter. How long have I been streaming for? 27 minutes. So I think that I can probably, uh, I don't know, I think that I can probably read like at this pace, probably 10 chapters. I don't know, 10 chapters would be like 2 hours. It's 9:47. Yeah, maybe, why not? So, yeah, string theory. 9.5 hours before she decided to die, Nora arrived late for her afternoon shift at string theory. I'm so sorry that I'm laughing. I just remembered that it's a it's a it's a guitar shop, right? So it's called string theory because well, a guitar has strings. Well, I'm sorry, she told Neil in this scruffy little windowless box of an office. My cat died last night. My cat died last night, and I had to bury him. Well, someone helped me bury him. But then I was left alone in my flat, and I couldn't sleep and forgot to set an alarm and didn't wake up till midday and then had to rush. This was all true, and she imagined her appearance including makeup, free face, including makeup, free face, loose makeshift ponytail, and the same second-hand green corduroy. I think it's pronounced that way, but I'm not sure. Uh-huh. pinafore dress she had worn to work all week, garnished with a general air of tired despair, would back her up. Neil looked up from his computer and leaned back in his chair. He joined his hands together and made a steeple of his index fingers, which he placed under his chin as if he was Confucius contemplating a deep philosophical truth about the universe rather than the boss of a musical equipment shop dealing with a late employee. There was a massive Fleetwood Mac poster on the wall behind him, the right corner of which had come unstuck and flopped down like a puppy's ear. That just sounds cute. Listen, Nora, I like you. Neil was harmless, a 50 something guitar aficionado who liked cracking bad jokes and playing uh, passable old Dylan covers live in the store. And I know you've got mental health stuff. Everyone's got mental health stuff. You know what I mean. I'm feeling much better, generally, she lied. It's not clinical. The doctor says it's situational depression. It's just that I keep on having new situations. But I haven't taken a day off sick for it all, apart from when my mom, yeah, apart from that. Neil sighed when he did so he made a whistling sound out of his nose. An ominous B flat. Nora, how long have you worked here? 12 years, and she knew this too well. 11 months and 3 days, on and off. That's a long time. I feel like you are made for better things. You're in your late 30s. I'm 35. You've got so much going for you. You teach people piano. One person. You brush a crumb off his sweater. Did you picture yourself stuck in your hometown working in a shop? You know, when you were 14, what did you picture yourself as? At 14, a swimmer. She'd been the fastest 14-year-old girl in the country breaststroke and second fastest at freestyle. She remembers standing on a podium at the National Swimming Championships. Wow. So, what happened? She gave the short version. It was a lot of pressure. Pressure makes us, though. You start off as coal, and the pressure makes you diamond. She didn't correct his knowledge of diamonds. She didn't tell him that while coal and diamonds are both carbon, coal is too impure to be able, under whatever pressure, to become a diamond. According to science, you start off as a coal and you end up as a coal. Maybe that was the real life lesson. She smoothed a stray strand of her coal black hair up towards her ponytail. What are you saying, Neil? It's never too late to pursue a dream. Pretty sure pretty sure it's too late to pursue that one. You're a very well qualified person, Nora. Degree in philosophy. Nora stared down at the small mole on her left hand. The mole had been through everything she'd been through, and it just stayed there, not caring, just being a mole. Not a massive demand for philosophers in Bedford, if I'm honest, Neil. You went to uni, I would say it's uni, I don't know. You went to uni, had a year in London, then came back. I didn't have much of a choice. Nora didn't want a conversation about her dead mom, or even then, because Neil had found Nora's backing out of a wedding with 2 days. Notice the most fascinating love story since Skirt and Courtney. We all have choices, Nora. There's such a thing as free will. Well, subscribe to a deterministic view of the universe. But why here? It was either here or what happened? Hmm? Okay, we're back. For a second, I don't know what happened for a second. But well, I don't know what happened. So yeah, but why here? Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, uh-huh. Okay, 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 okay. Uh, mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just checking some messages. Okay. Uh-huh. So, it was either here or uh-huh. All right. So, but why here? It was either here or the animal rescue center. This paid better. Plus, music. You were in a band with your brother. I was the labyrinth. We weren't really going anywhere. Your brother tells a different story. I heard a noise. Oh, well. This took Nora by surprise. Joe, how do you? He brought an amp, Marshall DSL-40, when Friday, he was in Bedford, unless it was a hologram like Tupac. Uh-huh. He was probably visiting Ravi. Nora thought Ravi was her brother's best friend, while Joe had given up the guitar and moved to London for a crap IT job he hated. Ravi had stuck to Bedford. He played in a covers band now called uh he uh he played in a covers band now called Slaughterhouse 4, doing pop gigs around town. Uh-huh. Right, that's interesting. Nora was pretty certain her brother knew Friday was her day off. The fact prodded her from inside. I'm happy here. Except you aren't. He was right. A soul sickness festered within her. Her mind was throwing itself up. She widened her smile. I mean, I am happy with the job. Happy as in, satisfied, Neil. Satisfied. Neil, I need this job. You're a good person. You worry about the world, the homeless, the environment. I need a job. He was back in his Confucius pose. You need freedom. I don't want freedom. This isn't a non-profit organization, though I have to say it is rapidly becoming one. Look, Neil, is this about what I said the other week about you needing the modernized things? I've got some ideas of how to get younger PU. No, he said defensively. This place used to just be guitars. The string theory, get it? I diversified. I diversified. Made this work. It's just that when times are tough, I can pay you to put off customers with your face looking like a wet weekend. What? I think that's more like a what? I'm afraid, Nora. I'm afraid, Nora. He paused for a moment about the time it takes to lift an axe into the air. I'm going to have to let you go. All right. So, for what we know, father dead, mother dead, brother in another town, and probably they don't talk to each other. It says over there that it was where was it? It was right here. Uh-huh. Yeah, so Nora backed out of a wedding with 2 days. All right, so no family, no couple, no cats, and no job. I think that we're starting to understand why she's feeling this way. And as I said before, as I mentioned before, you never know when things are going to change or when things are going to get better. I mean, sadly, yes, they can get worse, but you never know. You never know. Okay, so I hate when people ask me too many questions about my life. Give me 1 second. Okay, I need to reply to a message. We will continue reading in a moment. I just need to talk. I just need to mention something very quickly right here. Okay. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. So I think that I can continue reading now. Okay, next chapter is called To Live is to Suffer. 9 hours before she decided to die, Nora wandered around Bedford aimlessly. The town was a conveyor belt of despair. The Pebble Dash Sports Center where her dad, well, so the Pebble Dash Sports Center where her dad, the the Pebble Dash Sports Center where her dead dad once watched her swim lengths of the pool. The Mexican restaurant where she'd taken Dan for fajitas. The hospital where her mom had her treatment. Dan had texted her yesterday, Nora, I miss your voice. Can we talk? She'd said she was stupidly hectic, big low. Yet it was impossible to text anything else. Not because she didn't still feel for him, but because she did, and couldn't risk hurting him again. She'd ruined his life. My life is chaos, he told her. Via trunk text shortly after the would-be wedding she'd pulled out of 2 days before. Shit, that's just crazy. The universe tended towards chaos and entropy. That was basic thermodynamics. Maybe it was the basic existence too. Uh-huh. Um, you lose your job, then more shit happens. The wind whispered, the wind whispered through the trees. It began to rain. She headed towards the shelter of a newsagent's with the deep and, as it happened, correct sense that things were about to get worse. Then it says, doors. 8 hours before she decided to die, Nora entered the newsagent's. Sheltering from the rain, the woman behind the counter asked. Yes. Nora kept her head down, her despair growing like a weight she couldn't carry, and National Geographic was on display. As she stared now at the magazine cover, an image of a black hole, she realized that's what she was, a black hole. A dying star collapsing in on itself. Uh-huh. Okay, that's a really deep thought. Like to feel like a black hole, like a dying star collapsing in on itself. I think if you think about this expression, she's basically saying that once she was really bright, but now she's about to die. Oh well, yes. So her dad used to subscribe. She remembered being enthralled by an article about Svalbard. Svalbard. I think that's how you would say it. I have no idea. The Norwegian archipelago in the Arctic Ocean. She'd never seen a place that looked so far away. She'd read about scientists doing research among glaciers and frozen fjords and puffins. Then, prompted by Mrs. Elm, she decided she wanted to be a glaciologist. El primer capítulo. Sorry, I read a message in Spanish and my brain was like, Spanish. Uh, she saw the scruffy, hunched form of her brother's friend and their own former bandmate, Ravi. I would say it's Rabi. Rabi by the Music Max, engrossed in an article. She stood there for a fraction too long, because when she walked away, she heard him say, Nora? Ravi, hi, I hear Joe was in bed for the other day. Small nut. Yeah? Did you see him? I did actually. A silence Nora felt as pain. He didn't tell me he was coming. It was just a flyby. Is he okay? Robbie paused. Nora had once liked him, and he'd been a loyal friend to her brother. But as with Joe, there was a barrier between them. They didn't parted on the best terms. On the best of terms. He'd thrown his drumsticks on the floor of a rehearsal room and stopped out when Nora told him she was out of the band. I think he's depressed. Nora's mind grew heavier at the idea her brother might feel like she did. He's not himself. Rabid went on, anger in his voice. He's going to have to move out of his shoebox in Shepherd's Bush. What with him not being able to play the guitar in a successful rock band, mind you, I've got no money either. Pub gigs don't pay these days, even when you agree to clean the toilets. Ever clean pub toilets, Nora? Okay, I need to answer this now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, uh-huh. Okay. Uh-huh. 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 So I'm having a pretty shit time too. If we're doing the Misery Olympics, Ravi coughed, laughed. Hardness momentarily shadowed his face. The world's smallest violin is playing. SpongeBob. She wasn't in the mood. Is this about the labyrinths still? It meant a lot to me, and to your brother, to all of us. We had a deal with Universal, right? How can I read this? We had a deal with Universal, right there. Album, singles, tour, promo. We could be Coldplay now. You hate Coldplay. Not the point. We could be in Malibu instead of Bedford. And so, no, your brother's not ready to see you. I was having panic attacks. I'd have I'd have let everyone down in the end. I told the label to take you on without me. I agreed to write the songs. It wasn't my fault I was engaged. I was with Dan. It was kind of a deal breaker. Well, yeah. How did that work out? Ravi, that isn't fair. Fair. Great word. The woman behind the counter gawped with interest. Ah, my nose. Bands don't last. It had been a meteor shower over before we started. Meteor showers are fucking beautiful. Come on, you're still with Ella, aren't you? And I could be with Ella and in a successful band with money. We had the chance. We had the chance right there. He pointed to the palm of his hand. Our songs were fire. Nora hated herself for silently correcting the hour to my. I don't think your problem was stage fright or wedding fright. I think your problem was life fright. This hurt. The words took the air out of her. And I think your problem, she retaliated, voice trembling, is blaming others for your shitty life. He nodded as if slapped, pushed his magazine back. See you around, Nora. Tell Joe I said hi, she said as he walked out of the shop and into the rain. Please. She got sight of the cover of your cat magazine. That's sad. She caught sight of the cover of your cat magazine. A ginger tabby. Her. Hey, wait. Whoa, amazing. No way. Uh huh. Okay, yes, I got lost. So, a ginger tabby, yeah. Her mind felt loud like a Sturm and Drag symphony, as if the ghost of a German composer was trapped inside her mind, conjuring chaos and intensity. The woman behind the counter said something to her she missed. Sorry? Nora said. The woman, blonde bob, bottle tin, was happy and casual and relaxed in a way Nora no longer knew how to be, leaning over the counter on her forearms as if Nora was a lemur at the zoo. You should be teacher. Love you. Uh-huh. Said you were going to end up blah 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 blah. I'm Carrie Ann. Remembered you from school, the swimmer. Super brain didn't what wash his face. Yeah. Yeah, didn't wash his face, Mr. Blandford, do an assembly on you once. Said you were going to end up at the Olympics. Nora noted. So did you? I gave it up. Was more into music at the time. Then life happened. So what do you do now? I'm between things. Get anyone then? Bloke, kids? Mara shook her head, wishing it would fall off her own head onto the floor, so she never had to have a conversation with a stranger ever again. Well, don't hang about. Tick tock, tick tock. I'm 35. She wished Easy was here. Easy never put up with any of this kind of shit, and I'm not sure I want. Me and Jay were like rabbits. But we got there. 2 liter theories, but worth it, you know? I just feel complete. I could show you some pictures. I get headaches with phones. Okay. Dad had wanted kids, Nora didn't know. She'd been petrified of motherhood, the fear of a deeper depression. She couldn't look after herself, let alone anyone else. Still in Bedford then. Mm-hmm. Thought you'd be thought you'd be one who got away. I came back. My mom was ill. Oh, sorry to hear that. Hope she's okay now. I better go. But it's still raining. As Nora escaped the shop, as Nora escaped the shop, she wished there were nothing but doors ahead of her, which she could walk through one by one, leaving everything behind. Okay, so this phrase at the very end of the last chapter, things were about to get worse. I think that everybody knows how shitty it is when people talk to you about your past and what could have been and what wasn't. I think I think that's just shitty. Like I've always believed that you should never, never, never ask people for things that you're unaware of or that you're uncertain of. I mean, yes, sure, we are curious about it. We want to know more and shit. But honestly, I've always believed that if somebody doesn't tell you about it on their own, it's probably because they don't want to talk about it, you know? Like, I don't know, if someone doesn't mention a relationship, probably that's because they don't want to talk about it. And you're asking about it, probably it's going to be a sort of a problem. And believe me, I've been there. I've been there. I've been asked by people about things I don't want to think about anymore, about the past or even about the future. Like, what are you going to do now? What's going to happen with this? I mean, if I'm not talking about that on my own, why do you think I want to talk to you about this? You know? Uh huh. So this was already there. All right. So, what do we know so far? We know that Nora's mom's dead. Probably she had cancer or something. She was ill. Nora's father is dead. Probably he had an accident or something like that because the very first chapter mentions that. The brother far away, not talking to her probably because of the band situation. Then this Ravi guy also not talking to her, hating her because of the band situation. And I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel about that because well, look at that. They had to deal with Universal album, singles, tour, promo, like the whole package. I don't know how I would feel if that happened to me. Like I'm in a band, probably going to be successful, then the songwriter decides to leave and everything goes down. So I don't know. I don't know how I would feel. Probably I know, but I don't think it's the best feeling. But well, sure, that. And well, also, she was engaged, about to get married to this guy, Dan, and she just didn't do it. All right. And they mentioned someone else. They mentioned, what's her name now? They mentioned, mm, Easy. So I don't know if Easy's a girl or a boy, but probably best friend. All right, probably the best friend, and they are not there for some reason. All right, and to make matters worse, the cat is dead. All right, so mother, father, cat dead. Brother not talking to her, living far away. Ravi not talking to her, hating her, and then missing her because we had the message. So probably she's just overwhelmed. Or I don't know. I think it's difficult to think about what other people are feeling. And we should never do it. We should never do it. You should never assume what other people are feeling because you never know. I mean, for some people, I don't know, certain things may bring happiness, but maybe that doesn't work for everyone. So we just need to think about that, eh? Okay, so how to be a black hole. All right, so shit now. Mm-hmm. 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 All right. Uh-huh. So yeah, how to be a black hole. 7 hours before she decided to die. Okay, so now it's 7 hours. Nora was in free fall and she had no one to talk to. Her last hope was her former best friend. We got it. Was her former best friend Easy, who was over 10,000 miles away in Australia, and things had dried up between them too. She took out her phone and sent Easy a message. Hi Easy, long time no chat. Miss you, friend. Would be wondrous. Yeah, oh, yeah, wondrous. Yeah, that's a word. Would be wondrous to catch up. She added another X and sent it. Within a minute, Easy had seen the message. Nora waited in vain for the three dots to appear. She passed the cinema where a new Ryan Bailey film was playing tonight, a corny cowboy rom-com called Last Chance Saloon. Ryan Bailey's face seemed to always know deep and significant things. Nora had loved him ever since she'd watched him play a brooding plateau in the Athenians on TV, as he'd, and since he'd said in an interview that he'd studied philosophy. You know, that's something I really need to mention. Like, okay, most of my friends, most of my like close friends, come from a very similar background as I do. Like from a young age, they wanted to study some sort of engineering or maths or physics or something like that. That's what I wanted to before I became an English teacher. Uh, all right, so they were talking about understanding how machines work, right? How to fix this, how to fix that, how to create this, how to create that. I never really wanted that. I only wanted to know the theory, and probably if I had studied that, I would have ended up as a teacher anyways. So, uh-huh. I understand why some people study that, right? Like because they want to understand the working of a machine or whatever. Uh, on the English teacher side, I've met people that they are teachers just because, like when they were 15, 16, they learned English and they were like, well, I already speak English, why not teach it, right? Or they had no other career options. That it was that or that. Yeah, sure. And but there are other degrees, other subjects that I would really like to know why people study that. Like not being judgmental, like actually I really want to know. Like Okay, so there's philosophy. Why would you study philosophy? Like, what's your motivation? And again, not being judgmental. I like the fact that people study whatever they want. Yeah, sure, that's amazing. But it's like, okay, why? Because once I met a girl that studied psychology because she wanted to understand herself. Like she wanted to be able to understand her own emotions, feelings, the way she saw things. So I've always wondered if something similar happens to people that studied philosophy. Like, is it actually about understanding something? I don't know. I I haven't met many people that have studied philosophy, and the ones I've met, they're not really close. Like they don't want to talk to me. So I cannot just come one day and say like, "Hey, why do you study this? Tell me." You know, it would be a little bit too personal. But I would like to know. I would like to know. Like, there are two people watching this, uh, but probably later more people are going to watch this. Probably, I don't know. I would like to know why. Why would someone study philosophy, and how did it change their perspective of life or their perspective of human interaction or whatever? I just would like to know that. But well, we don't know if it's going to happen. Uh, so, how to be a black hole? Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't remember. Ah, yeah, yeah, sure, here, yeah. Should imagine them having deep conversations about Henry David Thoreau through a veil of steam in his West Hollywood hot tub. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams, Thoreau had said. Live the life you've imagined. Thoreau had been her favorite philosopher to study. Look, I mean, like, what's going to happen is that after I fucking finish this book, I'm going to read about philosophy because like they're mentioning a lot of philosophers, and I would like to know like what they are actually saying about life. But well, yeah. So yeah, Thoreau had been her favorite philosopher to study, but who seriously goes confidently in the direction of their dreams? Well, apart from Thoreau. He'd gone and lived in the woods with no contact from the outside world, to just sit there and ride and chop wood and fish. But life was probably simpler 2 centuries ago in Concord, Massachusetts, than modern life in Bedfordshire. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe she was just really, maybe she was just really crap at it, at life. Whole hours passed by. She wanted to have a purpose, something to give her a reason to exist. But she had nothing. Not even the small purpose of picking up Mr. Banerjee's medication. Uh-huh. So, Mr. Banerjee's medication, as she had done that 2 days ago, she tried to give a homeless man some money, but realized she had no money. Cheer up, love. It might never happen, someone said. Nothing ever did, she thought to herself. That was the whole problem. Okay, okay. I might just say that. Okay. And drink water. So, antimatter. Antimatter? I don't know. 5 hours before she decided to die, as she began walking home, her phone vibrated in her hand. Maybe it was easy. Maybe Ravi had told her brother to get in touch. Nope. Oh, hi, Doreen. An agitated voice. Where were you? She'd totally forgotten. What time is it? I've had a really crap day. I'm so sorry. We waited outside your flat for an hour. I can still do Leo's lesson when I get back. I'll be 5 minutes. Too late. He's with his dad now for 3 days. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She was a waterfall of apologies. She was drowning in herself. To be honest, Nora, she's been thinking about giving up altogether. But he's so good. He's really enjoyed it, but he's too busy. Exams, mates, football. Something has to give. He has he has a real talent. I've got him into bloody Chopin. Please. A deep, deep sigh. Bye, Nora. Nora imagined the ground opening up, sending her down through the lithosphere and the mantle, not stopping until she reached the inner core, compressed into a hard, unfeeling metal. 4 hours before she decided to die, Nora passed her elderly neighbor, Mr. Banerjee. Mr. Banerjee was 84 years old. He was frail, but was slightly more mobile since his hip surgery. It's terrible out, isn't it? Yes, mumbled Nora. He glanced at his flower bed. The irises are out, though. She looked at the clusters of purple flowers, forcing a smile as she wondered what possible consolation they could offer. His eyes were tired. Behind their spectacles, he was at his door, fumbling for keys, a bottle of milk in a carry bag that seemed too heavy for him. It was rare to see him out of the house, a house she had visited during her first month here to help him set up an online grocery shop. Oh, he said now, I've got, I have some good news. I don't need you to collect my pills anymore. The boy from the chemist has moved nearby and he says he will drop them off. Okay. He managed to open the door, then closed it, retreating into his shrine. Good story. Retreating into his shrine to his dear dead wife. That was it. No one needed her. She was superfluous to the universe. Once inside her flat, the silence was louder than noise. The smell of cat food, a bowl still out for Walter, half eaten. She got herself some water and swallowed two antidepressants and stared at the rest of the pills, wondering. 3 hours before she decided to die, her whole being ached with regret, as if the despair in her mind was somehow in her torso and limbs too, as if it had colonized every part of her. It reminded her that everyone was better off without her. You get near a black hole, and the gravitational pull drags you into its bleak, dark reality. The thought was like a ceaseless mind crab, something too uncomfortable to bear, yet too strong to avoid. I like that phrase. Uh huh. Yeah, so I like the phrase. Something too what? Uh-huh. Something too uncomfortable to bear, yet too strong to avoid. Nora went through her social media. No messages, no comments, no new followers, no friend requests. She was antimatter. I'm smiling because of the comment. I like that phrase too. Thank you. Yeah. Where was I? Yeah. Nora went through her social media. No messages, no comments, no new followers, no friend requests. She was antimatter with added self pity. She went on Instagram and saw everyone had worked out how to live except her. She posted a rambling update on Facebook, which she didn't even really use anymore. 2 hours before she decided to die, she opened a bottle of wine. All philosophy textbooks looked down at her. Ghost furnishings from her university days, when life still had possibility. A yucca plant and three tiny squat potted cacti. She imagined being a non sentient life from sitting in a pot all day was probably an easier existence. Yeah, maybe being a plant is easier than being alive. She sat down at the little electric piano but played nothing. She thought of sitting by Leo's side, teaching him Chopin's prelude in E minor. Happy moments can turn into pain given time. There was an old musician's cliche about how there were no wrong notes on a piano, but her life was a cacophony of nonsense, a piece that could have gone in wonderful directions, but now went nowhere at all. Time slipped by, she stared into space. After the wine, After the one, a realization hit her with total clarity. She wasn't made for this life. Every move, like, all this is just a weird combination. Like, uh, I'm reading a book. Uh-huh. So I was saying that this environment is a little bit interesting. Like, you see that there's light, but those are actually like my LED lights. I can turn them off and I would be in total darkness. Like, okay, turn off this one and then this one and total darkness now. um I want to see what it looks like. Yeah, total darkness. The only light that lights up my face is the screen that is in front of me. But okay, so the lights that we have right here, and also the music outside and the story. I don't know. It's an interesting combination. But well, sure. Where was I? We just want to hear the story. Huh. Disaster. Yes. Okay. So this part. Yes. After the one, a realization hit her with total clarity. She wasn't made for this life. Every move had been a mistake, every decision a disaster, every day a retreat from who she'd imagined she'd be. Swimmer, musician, philosopher, spouse, traveler, glaciologist, happy, loved. Nothing. She couldn't even manage cat owner, or 1 hour a week piano tutor, or human capable of conversation. The tablets weren't working. She finished the wine, all of it. I miss you, she said into the air. No, 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 no hay problema, no lo voy a poner privado. O sea, realmente lo voy a dejar ahí y tal vez lo corte en partes después. O sea, no, no lo voy a dejar en privado. No te preocupes. Gracias por comentar. Ajá. Where was I? Where was I? Uh-huh. So she called her brother and left a voicemail when he didn't pick up. I love you, Joe. I just wanted you to know that. I love you, Joe. I just wanted you to know that there's nothing you could have done. This is about me. Thank you for being my brother. I love you. Bye. It began to rain again, so she sat there with the blinds open, staring at the drops on the glass. The time was now 22 minutes past 11. She knew only one thing with absolute certainty. She didn't want to reach tomorrow. She stood up. She found a pen and a piece of paper. It was, she decided, a very good time to die. And here's a letter. Dear whoever, I had all the chances to make something of my life. I blew every one of them. Through my own carelessness and misfortune, the world has retreated from me. And so now it makes perfect sense that I should retreat from the world. If I felt it was possible to stay, I would, but I don't. So I can't. I make life worse for people. I have nothing to give. I'm sorry. Be kind to each other. Bye, Nora. Okay, before I talk about this, I need to reply to some messages. Ah, so well, we already know that she's about to die. Actually, I think that she's already dead. And I don't know. I just think it's actually difficult to talk about this. Uh, so I think it's just difficult to talk about this. Like I mentioned it before. There are a lot of bad things going on. There are a lot of good things going on. I cannot speak from everyone, but yeah, I mean, like, but yeah, you just have to find a way to deal with things and hope that everything gets better. I would say. Y sí, se voy a subir más partes de gramática, probablemente en la semana, pero veremos. Okay, so 0000000. So basically, midnight. At first, the mist was so pervasive. At first, the mist was so pervasive that she could see nothing else. She could see nothing else until slowly she saw pillars appear on either side of her. She was standing on a path, some kind of colonnade. The columns were rain gray with specks of brilliant blue. The misty vapors cleared. So, yeah. So we know that now she's dead, right? The misty vapors cleared like spirits wanting to be unwatched, and a shape emerged. A solid rectangular shape, the shape of a building, about the size of a church or a small supermarket. It had a stone facade. Facade. I think that's the pronunciation. Facade. Bye bye. It's okay. Facade. Uh huh. Is that the word? Facade. I think that's the pronunciation. Ah, facade. Yeah. Facade. Facade. I don't know. Like I don't trust it. But well, if it says it is, well, I guess it is. So, the same coloration as the pillars, with a large wooden central door and a roof which had aspirations of grandeur, with intricate details and a grand-looking clock on the front gable. With I got lost with black painted Roman numerals and its hands pointing to midnight. Tall, dark, arched windows framed with stone bricks. Uh huh. Uh huh. With black painted Roman, yeah, yeah, yeah. When she first, punctuated the front wall, equidistant from each other. When she first looked, it seemed there were only four windows, but a moment later, there were definitely five of them. She thought she must have miscounted. As there was nothing else around, and since she had nowhere else to be, Nora stepped cautiously towards it. She looked at the digital display of her watch. 000000, midnight, as the clock had told her. She waited for the next second to arrive, but it didn't. Even as she walked closer to the building, even as she opened the wooden door, even as she stepped inside, the display didn't change. Either something was wrong with her watch or something was wrong with time. In the circumstances, it could have been either. What's happening? She wondered. What the hell is going on? Maybe this place would hold some answers, she thought, as she walked inside. The place was well lit and the floor was light stone, somewhere between light yellow and camel brown, like the color of an old page. But the windows she had seen on the outside weren't there on the inside. In fact, even though she had only taken a few steps forward, she could no longer see the walls at all. Instead, there were bookshelves, aisles and aisles of shelves reaching up to the ceiling and breaching off from the broad open corridor Nora was walking down. She turned down one of the aisles and stopped to gaze in bafflement at the seemingly endless amount of books. The books were everywhere, on shelves so thin they might as well have been invisible. The books were all green, greens of multifarious shades. Some of these volumes were murky swamp green, some a bright and light chartreuse, some a bold emerald, and others the verdant shade of summer lawns. And on the subject of summer lawns, despite the fact that the books looked old, the air in the library felt fresh. It had a lush, grassy outdoors kind of smell, not the dusty scent of old tomes. The shelves really did seem to go on forever, straight and long towards a far off horizon, like lines indicating one point perspective in a school art project, broken only by the occasional corridor. She picked a corridor at random and set off. At the next turn, she took a left and became a little lost. She searched for a way out, but there was no sign of an exit. She attempted to retrace her steps towards the entrance, but it was impossible. Eventually, she had to conclude she wasn't going to find the exit. This is abnormal, she said to herself, to find comfort in the sound of her own voice. Definitely abnormal. Nora stepped and stepped closer to some of the books. There were no titles or author names adorning the spines. Aside from the difference of shade, the only other variation was size. The books were of similar height, but varied width. Some had spines 2 inches wide, others significantly less. One or two weren't much more than pamphlets. She reached to pull out one of the books, choosing a medium sized one in a slightly drab olive color. It looked a bit dusty and worn. Before she had pulled it clean from a shelf, she heard a voice behind her and she jumped back. Be careful, the voice said, and Nora turned around to see who was there. Probably this is going to be the last. I don't know. I think these are going to be probably the last couple of chapters I read. All right, it's getting a little bit late, and there's only one person, so yeah. All right, just uh-huh. So it is quite a nice book. It's called The Midnight Library, and it's actually quite interesting. Thought provoking. That's the best adjective to describe it. Thought provoking. So, well, yeah. The librarian. Please, you have to be careful. The woman had arrived seemingly from nowhere, smartly dressed, with short gray hair and a total green polo neck jumper. About 60, if Nora had to pin it down. Who are you? But before she had finished the question, she realized she already knew the answer. I'm the librarian, the woman said coyly. That is who. Her face was one of a kind, but a stern wisdom. She had the same neat cropped gray hair she'd always had, with a face that looked precisely as it always did in Nora's mind. For there, right in front of her, was her old school librarian, Mrs. Elm. Mrs. Elm smiled thinly. Perhaps. Nora remembered those rainy afternoons playing chess. She remembered the day her father died, when Mrs. Elm gently broke the news to her in the library. Her father had died suddenly of a heart attack, while on the rugby field of the boys' boarding school where he taught. She was numb for about half an hour and had stared blankly at the unfinished game of chess. The reality was simply too big to absorb at first, but then it had hit her hard and sideways, taking her off the track she'd known. She had hugged Mrs. Helm so close, crying into her polo neck until her face was raw from the fusion of tears and acrylic. Mrs. Helm had held her, stroking and smoothing the back of her head like a baby, not offering platitudes or false comforts or anything other than concern. She remembered Mrs. Helm's voice telling her at the time, "Things will get better, Nora. It's going to be all right." It was over an hour before Nora's mother came to pick her up, her brother stone and numb in backseat, and Nora had sat in the front next to her mute, trembling mother, saying that she loved her, but hearing nothing back. What is this place? Where am I? Mrs. Elma smiled, a very formal kind of a smile. A library, of course. It's not the school library, and there's no exit. Am I dead? Is this the afterlife? Not exactly, says Mrs. Elm. I don't understand. Then let me explain. Okay, so maybe she's not dead. Maybe she's in a coma. Maybe. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Somebody asked, how did I feel when I got the perfect score in the TOEFL? Uh, fine. I mean, like, I actually knew that it was about controlling my nerves because I already knew everything there was to know about the exam and about the topics and everything. So it was mainly controlling my nerves. But I usually get nervous in exams or in presentations or around people. I get nervous all the time, even when I have to order something. I always get nervous. But well, okay. So, but it felt nice. It felt nice because I had proof to show students that I'm capable enough of preparing them for the exam. You know. So next chapter, the Midnight Library. Probably this is almost the last one. Yeah, probably yeah. So the Midnight Library. So as she spoke, Mrs. Helm's eyes came alive, twinkling like puddles in moonlight. Between life and death, there is a library, she said, and within that library, the shelves go on forever. Every book provides a chance to try another life you could have lived, to see how things would be different if you had made other choices. Would you have done anything different if you had the chance to undo your regrets? I said it before, that's always a difficult question, right? So, I am dead, Nora asked. Mrs. Selm shook her head. No. Listen carefully. Between life and death. She gestured vaguely along the aisle towards the distance. Death is outside. Well, I should go there because I want to die. Nora, this bitch. Nora began walking, but Mrs. Elm shook her head. That isn't how death works. Why not? You don't go to death. Death comes to you. There's a phrase that I've always liked. It's from a video game. It's from God of War, and it says, "Death can have me when it earns me." I think it's something like that. Let me read it like for sure. So death can have me, like that, exactly like that. Ooh, I love my memory. So death can have me when it earns me. So, I mean, sooner or later, we're all going to die, right? But this phrase, you don't go to death, death comes to you. And the phrase, I believe it. Death can have me when it earns me. Even that was something Nora couldn't do properly, it seemed. It was a familiar feeling, this feeling of being incomplete in just about every sense. And a finished jigsaw of a human, incomplete living and incomplete dying. So why am I not dead? Why has death not come to me? I gave it an open invitation. I'd wanted to die, but here I am, still existing. I am still aware of things. Oh my god, this bitch. So well, if it's any comfort, you're very possibly about to die. People who pass by the library usually don't stay long, one way or the other. When she thought about it, and increasingly she had been thinking about it, Nora was only able to think of herself in terms of the things she wasn't, the things she hadn't been able to become. And there really were quite a lot of things she hadn't become. The regrets which were on permanent repeat in her mind. I haven't become an Olympic swimmer. I haven't become a glaciologist. I haven't become Dan's wife. Uh, Sadly, I'm not teaching private classes right now. I'm just teaching groups. So, yeah, sadly, I'm not teaching private classes right now. Sorry. So yeah, I haven't become a glaciologist. I haven't become Dan's wife. I haven't become a mother. I haven't become the lead singer of the Labyrinth. I haven't managed to become a truly good or truly happy person. I haven't managed to look after Voltaire. And now, last of all, she hadn't even managed to become dead. It was pathetic, really. The amount of possibilities she had squandered. While the Midnight Library stands, Nora, you will be preserved from death. Now, you have to decide how you want to live. I think this is going to be the last. Maybe. Okay, so I think this is going to be the last. The shelves on either side of Nora began to move. The shelves didn't change angles, they just kept on sliding horizontally. It was possible that the shelves weren't moving at all. But the books were, and it wasn't obvious why or even how. There was no visible mechanism making it happen, and no sound or sight of books falling off of the end, or rather the start, the start of the shelf. The books slid by at varying degrees of slowness, depending on the shelf they were on, but none moved fast. What's happening? Miss some expression stiffened and her posture straightened, her chin retreating a little into her neck. She took a step closer to Nora and clasped her hands together. It's time, my dear, to begin. If you don't mind me asking, begin what? Every life contains many millions of decisions, some big, some small, where every time one decision is taken over another, the outcomes differ. An irreversible variation occurs, which in turn leads to further variations. These books are portals to all the lives you could be living. What? You have as many lives as you want as you have possibilities. There are lives where you make different choices, and those choices lead to different outcomes. If you had done just one thing differently, you would have you would have a different life story, and they all exist in the Midnight Library. They are all as real as this life. Parallel lives, not always parallel, somewhat more perpendicular. So, do you want to live a life you could be living? Do you want to do something differently? Is there anything you wish to change? Did you do anything wrong? That was an easy one. Yes, absolutely everything. The answer seemed to tickle the librarian's the answer seemed to tickle the librarian's nose. Mrs. Elm quickly rummaged the paper tissue that was stuffed up to the inside sleeve of her polo neck. She brought it quickly to her face and sneezed into it. Bless you, said Nora, watching as the tissue disappeared from the librarian's hands the moment she'd finished using it, through some strange, unhygienic magic. Don't worry, tissues are like lives. There are always more. Mrs. Elm returned to her train of thought. Doing one thing differently is often the same as doing everything differently. Actions can be reversed within a lifetime, however much we try. You're no longer within a lifetime. You have popped outside. This is your opportunity, Nora, to see how things could be. Oh, it's. I think this has no battery now. Yes, this has no battery. Okay, so I'm just going to use my computer's microphone to finish. Okay, so this is going to be the end, right? I'm going to read the last part. So this can be real, Nora thought to herself. Mrs. Elm seemed to know what she was thinking. Oh, it is real, Nora said, but it is not quite reality as you understand it. For want of a better world, it is in between. It is not life, it is not death. It is not the real world in a conventional sense. But nor is it a dream. It isn't one thing or another. It is, in short, the Midnight Library. The slow-moving shelves came to a halt. Nora noticed that on one of the shelves to her right, at shoulder height, there was a large gap. All the other areas of the shelves around her had the books tightly pressed side by side, but here, lying flat on the thin white shelf, there was only one book, and this book wasn't green like the others. It was gray as the stone of the front of the building when she had seen it through the mist. Mrs. Elm took her book from the shelf and handed it to Nora. She had a slight look of anticipatory pride, as if she'd handed her a Christmas present. It had seemed light when Mrs. Elm was holding it, but it was far heavier than it looked. Nora went to open it. Mrs. Elm shook her head. You always have to wait for my say so. Why? Every book in here, every book in this entire library, except one, is a version of your life. This library is yours. It is here for you. You see, everyone's lives could have ended up an infinite number of ways. These books on the shelves are your life, all starting from the same point in time. Right now, midnight, Tuesday, the 28th of April, but these midnight possibilities aren't the same. Some are similar, some are very different. This is crackers, said Nora, except one, this one. Nora tilted the stone gray book towards Mrs. Elm. Mrs. Elm raised an eyebrow. Yes, that one. It's something you have written without ever having to type a word. What? This book is the source of all your problems, and the answer to them too. But what is it? It is called, my dear, the Book of Regrets. Okay, so I guess that's going to be the end. So yeah, I guess that's going to be the end for today. Yes, we read about 40 pages, something like that. Yeah, about 40 probably. Yeah, I would say like probably we read about 37 pages. So we're going to stop right there. Probably we will continue tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. I'm not sure yet, but probably the day after tomorrow. Right? So well, thank you very much for watching this video. It will be on my channel. I don't plan on erasing it actually. I think it's okay if it's there. This is going to help me read a little bit more because as I mentioned at the beginning, I don't read at all, principally because I get lost. So now that I'm being recorded, it kind of makes me feel under pressure. So I like it, and I think it's going to help me read even more. So if you have any book recommendations, please let me know. And well, I'll see you around. Thank you.